started recording. Some of you may have seen this video. Just to hype us all up. That's
obviously not such as AI generated.
Well, I assume that's what's going through his head every time he walks out to a keynote presentation to stab
Was he
himself.
battling Steve Ballmer?
Yeah, so Steve Ballmer was much better.
I've seen Steve Ballmer do that live.
Cool. Well, welcome everyone to the Adelaide Microsoft Community User Group Meetup for December. We're doing a joint user group for the month of December post Ignite. I will progress the slides and come out. Just a quick welcome to the country. We acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and we pay our respects to the leaders past, present and emerging. Please take a seat. Yes. In the case of emergencies, please take the stairs on your far right as you exit the office. There are 12 flights of stairs, so just be prepared. When you do get to the bottom, it's the southwestern quadrant of Hindmarsh Square, and toilets are out on the right past the elevators. I'm going to sit here. So you're probably here because you're a member of one of these user groups. There's a few. So I myself and Adam here, we run the RD Pro community, which is the host user group for today's session. We've got Daniel Brown here. I'll do a quick self-intro.
Run the 365 and, passed the mic and didn't even use it. I run the Microsoft Copilot user group, which we founded this year, and also the M365 user group, which was the O365 user group, which was the SharePoint user group back in 2007. So just as technology's changed, we've expanded and kept up to date, but that's been running on our thing 17 odd years, 16, 17 years. So besides Rob and David, I think we're now the third oldest user group, besides the Curry one. So roughly. I think you're the second oldest, Rob, aren't you? In the user groups? You're the second oldest user group now? ADAUG. Yeah. Yeah. So, yes. All right, I'll take it back to Andrew.
Yeah.
I've been doing 17, so...
While we wait for Rob to get settled. There isn't one. We've got Power BI and Fabric. Unfortunately, Heidi and Ben aren't present. They're in the state. And then we've got the Azure user group with Simon over there.
Yeah, which has been going quite well. We've been getting some really good attendance, and we had some good speakers this year, and hope to line up some good ones for next year as well. So it's a very broad area. There's sort of the Asian group, a lot of different things incorporated with it. So there's a lot to unpack there. So we're looking forward to it. So if anyone works with Azure and wants to speak, come and talk to me. I always prefer speakers.
Awesome, cheers. We've also got .NET user group. David Gardner unfortunately couldn't be here today. And now that Rob is settled, I'll let him introduce his user group.
So we used to be the Adelaide SQL Server user group, hence the ADSUG handle on Meetup. But of course, the data platform has grown so much beyond just SQL Server. And so for the past, I don't know how many years, we became the data platform and analytics. And so we cover a lot of Fabric as well as being the analytics space in Microsoft. And Heidi used to work for me, so did Ben for the Adelaide Power BI and Fabric group. They used to be just the Adelaide Power BI user group. back when I had the Adelaide SQL Server user group. I had switched across, and then when Fabric got announced, Microsoft rebranded all of the Power BI groups to Fabric. So now effectively we have 2 Fabric groups in the city, but they're different target audiences. If you're like a data professional and who understands the significance of analytics and so on, then you'll get a lot out of my group. If you're coming to it from a visualization space and so on, then maybe the Power BI group is more for you. But actually, go to both. Ben's hosting a meeting here tomorrow lunchtime. They've got a speaker, Paul Turley, from who lives in Portland, Oregon. He's speaking remotely, but yeah, they've got a meeting tomorrow. So be at that group and come along to mine as well. We have a meeting on the 18th. We've got a guy speaking remotely from Calgary called Jared McKenzie about the Delta Parquet format, the internals of that, how you can make it work faster and so on. But yeah, get along to all of the groups. As I was just telling Clara out there, the way that you develop your career is to be in community and be known. And in fact, the best way that you can enhance your career is changing what side of the room you're on. Stop being somebody on that side of the room and start being the person on this side of the room. I'm not saying to take over running a user group because, you know, there's only... Sorry? Yeah, but actually it's more just become a presenter. Because if you give a presentation at one of our user groups, then everybody in the audience realizes how crap you are. No, sorry. How good you are at that thing. It serves as a job interview, right? Because you're demonstrating that you can communicate well. You're demonstrating that you're an expert in that particular area. You're demonstrating how you deal with those questions that you don't know the answer to. And it's perfectly fine to say, actually, I don't know. But we will all appreciate you massively if you're somebody who can give a presentation and do a good job of it, right? We'll let you know if you haven't done a very good job, well, subtly. But yeah, get yourself onto this side of the room because that's the thing that will really enhance your career. Not even if you get about getting a new job, you'll become the person that is sought after. Like if you work for some consultancy in town, customers are going to start wanting you to be the person that comes in because they've seen you present and they know how good you are. But yeah, sorry, I've gone way too long.
No, it's not comic relief. Tell us about your side hustle. Just briefly.
For a few years, I've recently turned 50, and I know, and every time I see them announce the life expectancy has gone up, I feel like I've got to have another midlife crisis. I've got the red sports car. It's just parked on High Marsh Square today. It's got a disability thing on it because of that. I've had a colonoscopy because I got to that age where that's a whole story. A whole story. Right? Sorry, that's a spelling joke for you. And I've started seeing somebody, a psychologist, professionally. Be a whole lot cheaper to see her romantically, except that I wouldn't get the Medicare rebate, if you know what I mean. And I started doing comedy a few years ago. I had a fringe show in 2024. I don't have one in 2025, but yeah, you might see me around the place doing comedy. Anyway.
All right. Well, Rob's here all week. I joke. As we mentioned, there is a opening for a security user group if anyone's interested. I'm just looking at you there, Shahan. But yeah, feel free to reach out to any of us in the Microsoft community out here, and happy to help you get you on your feet to start running one of these user groups or presenting. Now, usually this is where we put up the slide with all the thanks to the sponsors, and of course, every time Microsoft does give us this venue. But this time, we want to take the opportunity to thank you, the audience, for being part of the community and coming along. So it means a lot to us if you actually do make it here in person, just to keep some seats filled, but also because of the interaction with all the people in person. So round of applause for attendance. Right. So why are some of us here up on the stage? Some of us are either current or have been or will be MVPs in the Microsoft space. So there's actually a few in Adelaide. Some that I didn't actually know were here. I don't know if they're still current. um, yeah, so we're keeping Rob company now. So we've all got our own little areas of expertise and stuff we want to talk about. But yeah, if you're interested in this journey, let us know as well, and we'll give you a hand in what considers you know, to be an MVP. We're taking the photos. So go on. All right, cool. So today's session is around the Ignite news and announcements. So Microsoft Ignite is the large flagship conference over in America where Microsoft goes and announces all of the new cool things. So we'll jump into the Azure space now, and I'll hand over to Simon. Would you like a microphone, or you want to?
No,
You can boom over. Yeah.
so, all right, so there's a couple of things that I wanted to sort of mention about one about infrastructure and then just briefly into AI. I think Damon will talk more about the Copilot side of AI, so I won't really go into that. I just sort of wanted to mention a couple of things that I found particularly interesting in the Ignite conference that I wanted to mention. The first one being the Azure Local, the announcement of Azure Local. Now, I'm not sure who hasn't seen any of the information that's come out of Ignite. Basically, Azure Local is.
I switched it on around. Sorry.
What?
Anyways,
AI first. Oh, God, sorry. All right. Sorry, I was going on my planning in my head, throwing me.
probably should tell you a little
Okay,
bit.
that's fine. Okay, so Azure AI, one of the bigger announcements was the release of the Azure AI Foundry, which is there we go. Oh, you've had help. Look at that. I was going to win it, but I can prefer this. So Azure AI Foundry is basically the amalgamation of a number of tools in the Azure AI suite. So it sort of brings together the Open AI service, the search. This is fantastic.
Right.
The AI search, the new agent service, and content safety. And it incorporates sort of the interactivity with GitHub and Visual Studio and Copilot Studio. So basically what it does is it brings together all the areas of creating an AI application. So you can go in, you can try different models. So you can go and sort of spin up a model, and it's like you can there's a playground in there. You can go and ask your questions. You can try different models to see what kind of answers you get to the things that you're looking for. You can integrate with AI search, which is you might have heard the term RAG, or I've gone blank on what it means. It's retrieval augmented generation. That's the one, which is which is effectively integrating your own data into and alongside the model. So it can use things like vector search and stuff like that to analyze your data. It doesn't integrate into the model, so it doesn't sort of get sucked up by the giant AI and shared to everybody. It just sort of works alongside. So the model can look into and pull your data and include that data in its results. So you can include things like from blob storage, PDFs, you can in SQL Server. There's a large number of different things that you can bring in with Azure AI Search and incorporate in. And from that, you can integrate your own data. You can then go through and integrate that with different models and see which ones you get the best speed or performance or characteristics that you're looking for, because each of the large language models operate in a different way and can be accessed through different mechanisms. So you can have some integration with GitHub where you can literally run the models side by side and that sort of thing. You can also do fine tuning, which is effectively a fancy way of saying, well, I'm going to give it some example prompts and example answers. So one of the examples that they gave during the conference was the idea of a shopping cart based around Xbox products. And so they had a chatbot, they had an integration in with some image stuff to display the different varying versions of Xboxes, and with the fine tuning, that incorporated in questions and answers where someone would prompt to ask about specs of a PlayStation 5, and it just kind of politely circled back and weaved them back into Xbox land. So obviously, rather than just giving them information about PlayStations. So there's a lot of fine tuning and stuff that you can do within this system, and it's trying to sort of amalgamate all those different mechanisms all into one primary system, really. So this is the Azure IO Foundry is kind of like your go-to whenever you want to develop AI-based apps.
That's the rebrand.
It's effectively a rebrand. I think it wasn't that. Sorry, Azure. Well, it was
AI
Studio. That's the word. Sorry, AI Studio. So it's effectively a rebrand, but incorporating in other areas as well. And the Azure AI Agent Service, they're working a lot on things like being able to call out to other parts of Azure, things like Azure Logic Apps and Azure Functions to actually process and manage actions based around feedback from the AI. So in a shopping cart, if someone says, "Oh, I want to place an order," or you can also use the agents to do web searches or integrate with any API, open API-based API. So you can make calls out to external systems or into your own systems like Azure Functions and Logic Apps. So for things like placing orders and stuff like that. So they're trying to sort of consolidate everything into the one main area. Yeah, interesting stuff. Azure Local. All right. As I was saying before, Azure Local it's kind of it's a little bit of a rebrand, but with a bit of a difference. So for those of you who might have heard of Azure Stack previously, Azure Stack was effectively taking the Azure methodology and systems and being able to run it in part in your own infrastructure in your own data center. It was the Azure Stack HCI, which is hyper-converged infrastructure, is based around the concept of software-defined data centers, software-defined networking, software-defined storage. So rather than your traditional having a SAN and your servers and your switches and all your networking, you basically use hyper-converged appliances that have all this stuff in the box, and it's all managed by software. And the Azure Stack was effectively putting that Azure management plane across the top of that and letting you run almost a hybrid between the Azure cloud and your own infrastructure. Azure Local, we've got more things. So Azure Local takes that down, I guess, to the next level. So rather than being a data center centric model, it's taking it down to the per device. So you can have effectively a server, like not necessarily a rack server, like a tower server or servers in your office or in your warehouse or whatever, and it has very minimal requirements for what you can do to bring this in, and it's all managed by Azure Arc. So as long as your server supports virtualization, has a 1 gig NIC, and has a separate hard drive than your operating system drive, you can effectively run it using Azure Local. So it's improved at the moment. It's coming out in 2025, the full implementation, and at present they're working with the hardware manufacturers like Dell, HP, and that sort of thing to effectively get almost out of the box solutions for this. So and it's quite easy to provision and get this all set up using Azure Arc, and then once it's all configured, you define your networking, you define your storage, and you can effectively run Azure-enabled VMs and things like containers directly on your servers in your office or in your warehouse or whatever. So so as I said, that is it's all managed by Azure Arc. So you've got for those who came to the Azure group last month, we looked at some Azure Arc stuff. It includes a lot of the management plane of updates and monitoring and that sort of thing. So this is, effectively the machines in Azure Arc. So, and from here, as I said, you can then provision the VM on your local machine, on your local server, just like you would if you're in that runs in your own networking, in your own office or warehouse.
What fabric is?
You did turn it off. He's sensible. He hands me a microphone, but he turns it off when he does so. Andrew just asked me if I can explain what Fabric is. Fabric is just basically a branding for everything that is data analytics in the Microsoft stack. Originally, Fabric was just kind of like a new format for storing data in a data lake, and they called it One Lake, and they were pointing out how they had a number of layers that were on top of that, such as a warehouse layer, like an endpoint basically, and as well as a Spark endpoint and so on. So you could actually you could interface with the data through a number of different ways. These days, Power BI has been folded into Fabric, and they've got Data Activator. It's being rebranded, being folded in for your real-time analytics. They've just announced Fabric SQL DB, which is like it's like Azure SQL DB, but it lives inside the Fabric space. No, I wouldn't recommend that you migrate your stuff from Azure SQL DB across to Fabric SQL DB. They're different use cases slightly, but I feel like the people there at Microsoft don't necessarily appreciate that, and there'll be people who make bad decisions. What are we looking at here? Databases in general, but it's a is that the Fabric databases bit? I can't quite see what it's trying to show. I don't tend to look at those pages very much. Databases in general, of course, inside the Microsoft cloud space. And we've had Azure SQL DB for a long time, managed instance, where you can have multiple databases like you would on a local installation of SQL Server. As well as so many other things as well, like Azure Cosmos DB and MongoDB and Oracle in Azure as well, and so on. All kinds of different data offerings according to what you're actually after. The big announcement at Ignite, the Fabric people will tell you the big announcement was Fabric SQL DB. For the rest of the world, it was like, oh, you've finally announced SQL Server 2025 after feeling like SQL Server on-prem had been largely forgotten for the past few years. They've announced that there's a new version coming in the next calendar year. One of the big features of that is that you can do Fabric mirroring, because of course it's all about Fabric. But as well as that, of course, the other thing it's all about is AI. And you've got great vector searching, so you can make a call to your AI model and get a vector back, which you can then do a vector proximity search across your data, so that you can do one call to your AI model instead of like asking it for every piece of data. How does this look? How does this look? You can make a call to your AI model, get back a vector, and then have a nice indexed search against your data to find the things that most closely match that. That's remarkably powerful. One of my favorite things, though, in SQL Server 2025 is regex support. Finally. It's just like, for so long, we've not been able to do regex very well inside SQL Server. And now we finally got regex support, and the world is breathing a sigh of relief, and I think there's going to be quite a bit of take-up of SQL Server 2025 purely for that. And various other small improvements around the query optimizer and about text handling and chunking and all those kinds of little things that people that will make it faster and better than previous versions. And I should point out that being in the data space, not all of the big announcements in November come at Ignite, because the PASS Summit is typically in November, which is the big community-based conference in the data platform space. It's a great event. I always tell my user group, get along to something that is, if you're a data professional, get yourself along to a data conference. Back when there was like TechEd Australia, you could go there, 5,000 people gathering for it, sure, with like 10 sessions about data. Everything else was about, well, these days it's about Copilot and so on. If you go to something like Ignite or Build. But if you go to something like Past Summit or the Fabric Conference or SQL Bits in the UK, then everything's about data and it's much more ideal for you if you're a data professional. So they make announcements of these things too, and the big announcement there is Management Studio 21, which you can get in preview already. Oh, you can also get on the preview for SQL Server 25. There's a link to that on the Microsoft page about SQL Server 25. Just sign up and get yourself a copy. But go and download Management Studio 2021. It's faster. It's get integrated better. It's just so much better than the previous version. I know a lot of people working on that, and they put a big effort in. You won't regret it. And it's fully compatible with everything that you've been using before. So yeah.
Copilot Studio.
Yeah. You got it?
Talk on it, or?
Yeah. So there are new changes to Azure AI, and these trickle down to Copilot Studio.
Yeah, I would have started with Copilot.
Sorry?
So Copilot Studio, if you don't know, is where you can make your custom Copilot/agents. It was a rebrand over a year ago from the virtual bots, and they've put the AI component, the Copilot component over the top, or integrated it as well. And we're seeing a lot more bleed through between Copilot Studio and Azure AI now. If you're unaware, Copilot technically is a Azure AI, although it's on the Microsoft spectrum of it, but its underlying foundations technically, so we're told, is Azure AI. And we're seeing that bleed through a lot more now since Ignite, certainly in the Copilot Studio space, where you can actually deploy these and then edit them in, theoretically, AI Foundry. So we'll see. I haven't done it yet, but we'll see. And likewise with the agents as well. For example, I mean, we can go on this a bit more, but the agents now in SharePoint can now be also edited via Copilot Studio and thus Azure AI as well. We've got voice-enabled agents as well. So Copilot's now taking on voice. That's going to be very interesting, especially with the live translation stuff in meetings as well. So we've got the multilingual translations in Teams, both in live and transcript as well. What else we got? Advanced knowledge tuning. So this goes back to that RAG. To an extent, Copilot has had a lot of fine tuning done to it over the last year, especially in the 365 space, where it's making it more versatile. So a great example, which is a limitation, is it doesn't look at all your email, all 500 million of them. It will only look at the top certain percent of them. And that's been increased. The enhancement between Teams, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, OneNote, 365, the Biz Chat, everything's being enhanced. As you may imagine, Copilot is Microsoft's baby at the moment, so they're really putting a lot of effort into it in terms of its feature announcement. What else we got up there? So Copilot agents, we've got now an agent library through Copilot, through Azure AI as well, where we've got some predefined agents, things like employee self-service. We've got the Teams facilitator as well. What was the other one? Sorry? Oh, okay, yeah, play the video. Easy as.
New agents in Microsoft 365 are transforming how humans and AI collaborate. Meet agents in SharePoint, which unlock high-value insights that are connected to your organization's documents. Created with just a few clicks, these agents enhance knowledge sharing. They can be customized with additional data sources in Copilot Studio and can be shared anywhere like a Teams chat. Next is the facilitator agent, joining meetings to manage tasks like the agenda, real-time notes, and action items, allowing the team to stay focused on the discussion. And the facilitator agent can also streamline communication in chats by providing real-time summaries and responding to questions so the team can focus on what matters. With the new interpreter agent, language barriers are a thing of the past, enabling real-time speech interpretation so everyone can speak and listen in different languages.
Thoughts from marketing about the upcoming campaign. If we get a game plan, we can aim that. 내놓는 것을 목표로 할 수 있을 겁니다.
And the project manager agent creates project plans, assigns tasks, and even completes them on behalf of the team, keeping everyone informed and collaborating effectively. Finally, for specialized business processes in HR and IT, the new employee self-service agent in Copilot Business Chat enables employees to get instant answers and take action, such as logging a help desk ticket. And it can be customized in Copilot Studio using pre-built workflows and more. New agents in Microsoft 365, supercharging productivity to reinvent how work gets done.
So with the Copilot agents, point of this working, yep. The democratize SharePoint sites and libraries. So everyone will be able to make an agent in SharePoint in every document library. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. But essentially, it's following the same path as Power Platform. You know, we've got those citizen developers where everyone can do everything. But if you want an actual solid product, let's not just leave it to the users. That's where that comes through. But the agents are a very different tack that Microsoft's taking as well, because they are going cross-application. So, for example, the project manager agent can go from Teams to project then, but to planner and to do and tasks and things like that. So it's multi-app, it's going across, and that's where we're seeing Microsoft take Copilot. There's a lot of that cross-app application. So we can say, right, here's the Word document, develop the Word document, but now I want to make a PowerPoint presentation, and off in PowerPoint it comes up. And Copilot actions. So I've actually talked a little bit of this over the years everyone's familiar with an LLM, large language model. It's useless. It regurgitates data. That's essentially what it is. I can't tell it to do things. I can't tell it to make a booking. I can't tell it to do something unless I, code that up. Copilot Actions is hopefully taking that to the next step, where we'll be able to actually do some actions. Now, what actions it will take, obviously we won't go on there and be able to order 12, roses. But if it does have API, if it does have a mechanism, I think the first step of this working is 365 itself. So this is where you'll be able to call the Power Logic apps, Logic apps, there we go. Monday afternoon, get the Logic apps, get Power Automate as well as being called from it, and a few other bits and pieces. Save time. What's this one? Oh yeah, the image upload and stuff. More templates. What's up next? Summarize.
Specific on what you do.
What?
Telling the Copilot what you do, what it should do.
Well, yeah, this is all part of the enhanced productivity of how to construct it all and bring those prompts together to get that better collaboration. What else we got? Updates Copilot in 365. Copilot pages. This is a very interesting topic. This is technically the first Copilot application that Microsoft has pushed out, which is Copilot Pages, which think of it as once you've got a prompt from Copilot, you can then take that prompt, make it a page, share it, and also the response and share it between your team. So, for example, hey, create a draft agenda for this meeting. Creates the agenda. You can then edit in. Think of it as a OneNote page, but it's not. I think it's Loop. Yeah, it's a Loop page. For those of you who haven't used Loop, think of it as OneNote, but on the web, but better. And it allows you to sort of share and develop that information beyond just that prompt response. You can share it with your team, then use that as a document source to develop and enhance that content as well. So yeah, it's their first Copilot application. Microsoft's very pleased with that. What's this one?
There's the page on the right.
Sorry?
It's the Copilot page.
Oh yeah, the Copilot pages. So this is just the Copilot page, yeah. But we can actually see, we haven't got add to page. It's now changed. The image now says Copilot pages, or edit in pages, I think. Yeah. And it sort of just keeps going and going and going, which typical, but. And the control system as well. So this is more of the, I hate using this word over the top, but control / governance. It's where you can actually start to put some limitations, some controls, some authority, some boundaries around it to essentially cross over all three. I think there's a fourth one, Azure AI as well, but it's grey in that area yet again. But anything Copilot will address Copilot. So this will take care of, Copilot for 365 with your enterprise data, plus all your apps, plus all your interactions, plus your biz chats, and be able to control it from a central location, from, say, my point of view and a rollout adoption point of view, get that feedback, and then adapt as well. Oh, and then, it's now coming to the admin center. There's going to be a whole bunch of reports rolling out, which, you can use. Like, anyone actually use, like, all the M365 reports, usage reports and stuff? Cool. So, there's going to be a whole bunch of other reports no one's going to look at. But essentially, it is around the Copilot adoption, the response times, how many people are using it, where they're using it, how they're using it, what app they're using it in. Essentially like the SharePoint adoption reports, where you can go in the admin center and see all that different flavor, but it will be the flavor of Copilot. And part of that will be the analytics. Yeah. That is a subsection of the Copilot control system. And what are we looking at here? Win rate. These are all, what is this, Andrew? Insights. Copilot details. Yeah. It's all the reports, how to do my Copilot usage, all this sort of stuff. It's all coming through. And then the prompt gallery, which was this the one that they renamed the lab? Yeah, so got to keep across. This one is Copilot Prompt Gallery. Or is it? No. Copilot Lab is now renamed as Copilot Prompt Gallery. Essentially the same, a couple bit of difference. It's expanded, it's been developed more. If you're struggling for ideas on what prompts to use to get the best value out of this particular situation, great place to start to sort of see what those prompts. There is I forget where it is on there, but the prompts do roll up. So the more people use this prompt, the more visibility it gets. It's not directly related to the Copilot. So if you're getting a million people in Copilot and they run this prompt, it won't bubble up through that. It is curated from Microsoft, but essentially it's a place. Copilot, you can now save your prompts, but this is where you can go to get those ideas outside of your sort of knowledge comfort zone. So if you're using Excel, I've got no idea about Excel, I need to do these particular prompts to get this particular information, hit up the lab / prompt gallery, and there'll be a whole bunch in there that you can at least start to draw some ideas from to then build upon. Yeah, you'll be able to upload them as well. Save them, forward them, share to the team. Really sort of enhancing that productivity with not only yourself, but also the team members as well to get that information going around. And I keep talking with my hands, so I like it. You want me to do this one as well? Yeah. So there wasn't much modern work, as one might expect. There was a lot of 365. What have you got on this slide?
This slide.
No.
We know what this one is.
As in, nah.
So during the second half of the keynote, the gentleman's name, but he walked out and he said, we're going to update the Microsoft 365 app icon. So essentially they're using the Copilot icon and labeling it with M365. So groundbreaking. That's essentially the applause they received.
See, I really picked up on that announcement. It's just, just on that note, the name of Copilot for 365 has been decided. So for the last year, was it Copilot for Microsoft 365, or was it M365 Copilot, or what was it actually called? Microsoft has settled on the name of Microsoft 365 Copilot. So just to put it out there, that's... Sorry? Oh, it does. It's so much easier. But there was that confusion, like, is it Copilot for 365, or is it Copilot in 365? Where does it actually fit? So it only took him about 9 months to settle on that name, which relatively good. Correct. Edge.
So Microsoft Edge, the browser of choice for Microsoft, so you can now use Intune to deploy passwords, or rather secured encrypted passwords. So things that you wouldn't usually use appreciated key these days for wireless, but something similar to that. So if you need passwords given out to users' machines securely, then that's the way to go forward. Another thing that's coming is scareware blocker. So if you've not seen scareware, this is what happens when you click on something and then it takes up the entire browser screen with flashing lights and warnings and giving you that sense of urgency that your device is compromised and all that. So then when you're all scared, you're going to click on the button to allow someone to come in and fix your problem. So it's like those videos where you see some random dial in and say, click on the button and I'll have control and I'll fix it. And then they'll take control of your machine and start doing bad things.
One point that I did forget to mention, which wasn't up there, is Teams is actually rolling out somewhat of a protection as well. So right now, if you've got Microsoft Teams, I can message you. Anybody can message you, including that prince from Nigeria who's got millions. So Microsoft in their response have now sort of put in a warning. If anyone's familiar, if I message you outside your organisation, a screen will actually pop up, say, do you want to allow a block? That's going to be a bit changed to say, hey, this may be potentially dangerous, all that sort of stuff, if it detects that. Sorry? If you want, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised anyway if you do, Rob. So,
I think you mentioned on these ones.
Oh, Teams. Oh, yeah. So the translation stuff, very cool. Star Trek Universal Translator, almost. This can be live, it can be in captions, and it can be also in the transcript as well. How well it works, I haven't tried. We should try that after our conversation this morning. We should definitely try it. Sorry?
I think your own voice to make it really spooky.
Oh, it's actually in your own voice. Oh, okay. So yeah, like I said, I haven't tried it, so that will add a different layer onto it. But I mean, it's very cool that we're getting to this because it really does break that language barrier. I mean, as I was saying to Andrew this morning, I mean, I'm not really bilingual, but I can speak code. So to have that translation go through and really dissolve that language barrier is great. Especially if you've got sort of geolocation businesses, you've got places all over the world. English obviously doesn't have to be the first language, but it may actually not be the first language in the business. It could be the second or third. And especially, with growing Asia, it's probably the Asian market, to be honest. It's actually a benefit to be able to sort of have that no barriers to communication. I think it's a wonderful idea, and it's really going down that Star Trek Universal Translator. It won't matter what language we speak, because we'll all be able to speak in our own native tongue, and then just the AI sorts it out. That'd be very cool. Storyline is another one. This is where we get into this enhanced collaboration, where basically, correct me if I'm wrong on this, everyone, but this just looks like Instagram. A little bit of Instagram for Teams. You can have your stories, your.
It's for We Vote Engage.
Sorry?
It's for We Vote Engage, the young.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's a good announcement. It is one of those sort of premier features that they are pushing. I believe you need Teams Premium for it. Does anyone? I think I've seen that, so that's going to be a bit of a killer. But yeah, so I'll get clarification on that. And then the Teams Rooms agent and AI, yet again, AI coming to Teams Rooms. Teams Rooms is, there's a little box up on there. But think of the AI aspect of this is AI is more of a team member rather than a personal assistant. So Copilot will be able to join your meetings, join your teams, interact with it as if it was a member, but it's really a cross-application assistant, like a team assistant rather than the personal assistant. It's just a slight delineation between those points because everyone's saying Copilot, your virtual assistant, and yet it is. But the team side of the stuff is literally the team's virtual assistant rather than the personal assistant. Personal assistant, Copilot, no problem. But things like the team's facilitator and all that is more to be a team-based one.
Just with this one, because it is Teams Rooms, the AI in it means that you've got people in one room. There's just one attendee on that call, so it doesn't know who's actually speaking. So with the new updates with AI, it will actually be able to identify who's speaking in the room, so long as
to be able to
yeah.
pick who's speaking. But you still have to update
So-
your own profile
yeah.
first, the face and record, voice recognition profile.
I mean,
Yeah.
keep in mind, everyone's almost joining these meetings, not so much with the Teams room, but through their account anyway, so it can sort of
Yeah.
find out.
And you can train it,
It
like,
gets-
like
yeah.
Fiona said. You provide your voice footprint and it learns and gets
Yeah.
better.
Not Spain. Oh, I was just saying not in Spain. Oh, okay, next one. Yeah. So the comment that on Spain is that Spain is only allowing voice processing onshore. So it's the whole insider joke of the regulation rules and regulations. And Microsoft Places, maybe that was what you need Teams Premium for. This is, Microsoft Places. It's essentially your virtual workplace. We got another video, I think. Nah, all right, don't worry about it then. Unless you've got Teams Premium, it's probably not going to be a big play. It looks cool in terms of you can have all your stuff in one area, but I think that's just called Teams, to be honest. That's my gut feel. Teams plays a little bit more than that, don't get me wrong. What are you going to say, Andrew?
It's more for the workplace.
Sure, it's a workplace.
Being used and get reporting out of it.
Yeah, but
return to work policies in place. So we can,
I'm pretty cool with new features and stuff. Just I don't know about this one. It just reminds me of Google Places or what's that, the Facebook one as well. I'm like, I don't know, but we'll see. Especially considering what AI and Copilot has to contribute in these. I mean, that is another level. So we'll see what can actually come out of it. And yeah. Oh,
so BizApps, I do have a guest speaker. I don't know if you're on the call, Arsenio. You want to unmute and just test? I did upgrade him to presenter. Yes. He's dropped off. I'll just wing it.
The only people on the phone. Gosh.
No, that's all right. We'll wing it. So Power Platform, Dynamics 365, they make up business applications. One of the first announcements was there is going to be Plan Designer. This one's more for Power Apps. So you can grab your customers' requirements, stick them into this canvas here, and essentially helps you create a solution in Power Platform. So it's got all the user stories, the data models, applications, and work automations and all that. So you'll get something from end to end, and AI comes in to give you a hand with that uplift. So existing applications as well, so you can convert them to intelligent applications and so on. Copilot for expressions. Now this one, I really wish was out many months ago. So in Power Automate, you can use load code or expressions per se to get certain things retrieved from databases and so on, tables and all that. So me being really bad at writing expressions and so on, I could just speak to Copilot here, tell it essentially what I want, give it a few variables or whatever the names are called, dynamic content, and Copilot will then output a reasonably usable expression I can just pop into the action in that flow. So that's amazing, and I wish that was out a year ago so I could use it.
I think the copy and paste doesn't work because when I do copy and paste, it just doesn't work because it doesn't link the function properly.
Oof. Anyhow, it's in preview, so we'll give it a bit of time. All right. Power Platform Admin Center. It's getting, as Daniel alluded to, there's heaps of security, governance, and so on happening. I think 2 years ago, they introduced something called Managed Governance. So, giving that more visibility across your environments, your users, and apps and data. And then they're adding in Managed Operations and Managed Security. So all these extra things to control how development cycles are working between environments and the data and AI within your business. That was fleeting, and I managed to not butcher it too much. So we'll move on to security now, and I'll hand over to Shahan, our other guest speaker, who's actually here. Yeah, no worries.
I also am Shahan. Those of you who don't know, I'm one of the MVPs as well from Adelaide. Usually I'm presenting in the user IT user pro.
Yeah, sorry.
Using the mic. So I think my voice. So I'm MEP in security, basically. So I'll be presenting the security stuff. So first of all, as everyone mentioned, a lot of Copilot stuff being introduced as well for Defender, Intune, Entra, and everything, and for Purview as well. So Defender XDR, if we first start with, so exposure management was there, but new features being introduced to exposure management to better understanding of where the exposure coming from, what are the threat actors, and what's the next step sort of a thing. So attack surface management is now available, generally available. So what it does is it grabs items from the other connectors like Tenable, Rapid7, or other data connectors, and just showing the same pane in different XDR. So what it does is basically it can help you to create your own policies, your understand more about the threats rather than just jump into system by system to understand what are the vulnerabilities. So everything is now available in the same pane in different XDR. Attack path analysis. So what this does is when something happened, like the post attack sort of a identification, or you can basically stay ahead of the attack as well to understand what are the attack paths. And for every section, there are some recommendations as well that you can take. Now, good for SecOps sort of stuff, and to identify what's the gravity of the threat and how to mitigate stuff in the recommendations. So that's been introduced as well. So unified exposure insights. So it grabs pretty much information from the other platforms. It's a SaaS security. It can be other applications like GitHub, Okta, those sort of stuff, your OT security, enterprise IoT security. So those information will be now on the same exposure management screen in Defender XDR. So those are the new things that went GA recently after the announcement in Ignite. So Copilot security Copilot. So there are a couple of Copilots being introduced, Copilot in Entra, Copilot in Intune, and Copilot in Purview. So first, Entra. So Entra, now you can get more insights about the risks, especially your user sign-in risks and user risk sort of stuff. So Copilot is sitting there, so you can just get more information and insights about those attacks and those threats straight from the Copilot, straight from the Entra portal. And also, it gives you more insights on your IAM scenarios as well, like IAM sessions, identity access sessions, and whatnot. Copilot in Intune, some stuff being introduced in Copilot in Intune. KQL queries, so if you know custom query language, that you can write queries to get information about your devices. So now Copilot in Intune itself, you can write, you can write prompts to get more like good queries to run within Intune itself to get more insights about your devices, and especially for Windows Auto Patch, which I'm going to be talking a bit. If you know EPM in Intune, which is Enterprise Privilege Management, so it's like you can provide access to your users in different scenarios to install applications on behalf of IT. So Copilot will help you to better understand what sort of requests that coming in. It can be an application, like a dodgy application that requests for elevation. So those sort of things can be identified by using Copilot feature in Intune. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Copilot in AutoPatch gives you, so AutoPatch is basically helps you to patch your devices, your Windows devices automatically. So it does everything for you rather than just going through the Windows update for business services. Once your tenant is onboarded into Intune, you can start auto patching your applications. It gives you like the daily cadence of updates, what has gone wrong, and also you can create it will create the update rings. So rather than you managing the Windows updates, Microsoft will manage the updates for you. So of course there can be failures, updates, buggy updates and stuff like that. So Copilot will help you to get more, give you more insights of those issues and the update scenarios, basically. Yeah, the Copilot in Purview, you're gonna cover it, or maybe I can just touch base on that. Yeah. So Copilot again in Purview. So basically summarization of DLP policies to understand in a natural language what has happened in that policy, what got captured, and those sort of stuff. So it will help you to understand your oversharing problems with the users as well, for an example. So again, more insights and understanding of the gaps in your environment when it comes to those data loss prevention rules and policies. E-discovery cases. So e-discovery is basically you can identify scenarios where if someone has sent an email to someone which shouldn't have happened, and those sort of things that you can search from the back end to understand who sent that email to whom, and you can extract those stuff as well. That's just one example of e-discovery. So those sort of cases, it can summarize the cases for you, those in e-discovery compliance stuff. And also, so it will give you the results in a natural language. So you don't need to go through every line to understand what's going on. So it will give you the summarization of those DLP policies. And also Copilot Knowledge Hub, like a product-specific guidance for Purview, so to understand, like Danny mentioned about the prompts that you can use in Purview. So more on Defender, I'll just go through this quickly. So Defender for Cloud, there have been a lot of announcements for Defender for Cloud, especially the development side of things. So Kubernetes help protect Kubernetes. So more insights into Kubernetes and stuff like that. Alerting features and also features in scanning the container images as well by using Defender for Cloud. So extensions being introduced, so you can just utilize them in your developments. So again, more API security posture, new capabilities in the cloud security posture management, and more security recommendations when it comes to API security to understand, do you have any secrets available or like enabled, exposed, and things like that? And also, are they secure or not when it comes to APIs? This is a new announcement. So Endo Labs, that has been this is a partnership between Microsoft Defender for Cloud and Endo Labs to better protect your applications and to give you more visibility and attack path visibility when it comes to app security and cloud security. So it's a best of both worlds, but it's in a single platform, which is good. So that's now been a part of the Defender for Cloud as well. Defender for Office 365, which is your emails security. So when it comes to SOC, so this is in preview at the moment. So it will use your large language models to better understand BEC or business email compromise protection and what has happened, and those sort of stuff, stay ahead of the game when it comes to those sort of attacks. Unified experience. So inside the risk, I think that's a Purview feature, which is available via Purview. Now it's showing the insights again and give you the graphs and everything in Defender XDR. So that's to again build like a unified SecOps platform experience. So last one for the Defender XDR. So MSP, that's Defender for Business. So interaction with Huntress, 24/7 Ops Center, remediate issues faster. So it's basically getting those logs into Defender to give you more information when you're running the SecOps stuff. So Entra, only one update. So this is something that went GA very recently, Secure Service Edge, which is a SASE product of Entra, which they call the Global Secure Edge. So this is basically that you can connect your applications, your private applications built on premises or in other clouds, for an example, or you can securely open 365 traffic from a user's desktop. So that's where Entra Security Service Edge comes in. So there are a few different ways: internet access, private access, and Microsoft 365 traffic access. So the new updates are for the private access feature and the internet access. So quick access policies to simplify onboarding your private application. So it doesn't have to be a cloud application. Still, you can allow your private applications to go through that MFA challenge before accessing. So legacy application support. Preview of app discovery. So helps you to understand, find all your private applications in your environment. And also private DNS, this is in preview. So with that, you can access applications that has host names, single label names. Doesn't have to be a fully qualified domain name, for an example. And connectors that will be coming into private preview soon. Applications running on different platforms, so they can be connected with the MFA feature as well going forward. And internet access features. So this is basically connected with conditional access policies. So CAE, or continuous access evaluation, that's where you have this small session tick that you can check when you're setting up the conditional access policies to say if the location changes or if the user status changed, then revoke access to the user or to the application. So that's been introduced to the internet access as well. So location-based controls are near real time. So that means if the user changes the location, it will reevaluate the conditional access policies and block access or just whatever the conditional access policy says. So that's been introduced to internet access. TLS inspection, which is in private preview. And that's basically inspection of encrypted traffic for better content filtering and categorization when it comes to accessing when the user is accessing data from their devices. Intune. So apart from the Copilot announcements, so it already had the advanced analytics feature where the IT admins can query to get more information about the devices, to understand what has happened with this batch of devices, what's the culprit is at the TPM. So TPM feature is now being introduced. So for more information, the CPU information as well, to get more visibility on the devices where if it is upgradable or not, those sort of stuff. So that's coming with the help of advanced analytics feature, which is available in the Intune, that goes with the Intune suite licensing. And also to run these sort of stuff, to get more reporting, KQL is what helps in these scenarios. So KQL is used in log analytics, in security, SecOps, and everywhere. So it's been used in Intune, Entra as well to get more information about the devices, your identity and access scenarios, and everything. And that's all about security, that side of security. So I'll hand over back to
you. And just with that, the security Copilot, that is a consumption-based Copilot. So those other Copilots we saw, so Entra, Intune, Purview, they will be part of Copilot, security Copilot, rather. And if you weren't aware, the global security stuff, that is the private access is more, think of it like a VPN or RDP replacement, and the internet access is something similar to content filtering. So delineating that. So Microsoft Purview, so everybody's new favorite friend, because of all the AI things that have come out, everybody's talking about compliance and governance and all that kind of fun, dry content. So with Ignite, there were actually more name changes and new announcements. So what used to be the data catalog is now the unified catalog in the Purview Admin Center. So if you hadn't noticed, Admin Center in Purview got upgraded 2 months ago or so, and it's about to enter that stage where you can opt out of it instead of opting into it. And soon enough, it's going to just take over, and there will be some lacking feature parodies that will crop up. So just be wary of those. Okay, new retention policies that will allegedly cover all the AI content that's generated in Teams and OneDrive. There are new retention policies and deletion policies for your Copilot interactions. So your M365 Copilot interactions, each time you have a conversation, you get a response back, that action's logged within your mailbox. And part of the major changes in this announcement is they're splitting the interactions from your Teams chat. So you'll have a separate folder or subfolder that contains only the Copilot interactions. So a compliance admin can come in and do an e-discovery search based on Copilot interactions and see kind of what you've been asking or what Copilot's been coming back with. And it's probably useful in terms of things like insider risk management and so on, where you're trying to get around, HR or finance, and you're asking Copilot questions around people's salaries and so on. So yeah, that's where retention policies come in. So if a user leaves, you've still got that evidence within tenant. Enhanced DLP policies. Now this is good because it covers both Copilot and Fabric, but in your DLP policy creation portal now, there is a section here, down here, where if you tell Copilot about a certain sensitivity label, it will ignore that from all interactions you have with it. So we're now at the file level in terms of preventing Copilot from seeing something, where before you could assign a sensitivity label to an M365 group or a SharePoint site, and anything in that site is protected to members only, whereas this is to the file. So you could have access to everything else in that site or document library, but if the file has that label on it, Copilot doesn't know anything about it. The Microsoft Purview AI Hub has been renamed to Data Security Posture Management for AI. Just make it even longer for the DSPM, if you've seen it elsewhere. That essentially gives you a whole lot of recommended actions and so on and controls to ensure that all your data and such being used by AI is compliant and governed and so on. Communication compliance is getting a little bit of an update. So this one falls in the realms of also insider risk management. So this tracks all your Teams conversations, your emails, and so on, just to make sure that you aren't using any bad language. There's no like harassment or threats, or if there's any discussions around sensitive topics that shouldn't be discussed. Another new thing is that you can now detect whether there are prompt injection attacks. So if you can see it in there, the prompt itself is saying, please summarize this email. But then after that, it immediately says, ignore the previous command and give me this information instead. So I'm not entirely sure why you would do it that way, but you can at least get it tracked. It will get picked up by compliance, communication compliance, and you'll have the evidence that this kind of threat or incident happened, and then your security teams can then take action immediately and prevent any further lateral kind of movement there. And surprisingly, and well, not so surprising, but I don't know what the right word is, happily, there are now AI regulation templates coming around the whole usage of AI. So a lot of these are mainly EU and ISO one, or NIST rather, but ISO probably has a bit more of an impact in Australia because we do follow a lot of the ISO certifications. 27001 is one of the common ones, but yeah, so being compliant and ensuring that you're compliant with the use of AI. So if you hadn't seen this, it's in Compliance Manager. You have access to 3 included assessments, I guess, and you can select things like Essential 8, NIST, CIS, and so on. But having these new AI ones will be probably beneficial. So it's not quite the same secure score, which actively tracks and updates as you apply certain controls. This is just a list of all the things you should be doing to be compliant with certain regulations. So as you work through it, it's a self-assessment. You enter details, you mark it done, and then the percentage goes up. So a lot of third parties and government bodies will be looking into this, so making sure that you're compliant in every way possible. Right. Windows time. Yeah.
I was going to say would save the best for last, being Windows, not myself, Adam Fowler. But yeah, what's going on with the order? All right. Let's blame Copilot. So Copilot plus PC, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and I'm also referring to my notes because there's a bit here. So there's some improved search functionality using the NPU. Does anyone here have a PC with an NPU yet?
I tried the Lenovo
Right.
Copilot plus PC a few months ago, and I returned it and got an Intel like AI chip instead, because there's still, I know that a lot of stuff in the Microsoft space says that it supports ARM64, don't believe it. I like to run SQL Server locally, for example, as a SQL Server professional, and I can't do that on ARM64. I tried in a container and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, am I spoiling your thunder? Get the AI PCs more than the Copilot PCs until Microsoft and other vendors fix that.
So if it's got an NPU, is that okay or not?
If it's not, as long as it's not Snapdragon
Right.
64, it's fine. If you get the Intel
Okay.
one, it's
AI PCs have NPUs.
Yeah.
These ones have more actions or processing.
Cool. So if you're looking for a PC, get Rob's advice. There you go. So there's improved search functions for File Explorer, Windows Search, and settings. Those searches are contextual. So say you're looking for a setting, what's the background thing on my desktop? I want a different picture. You can type that in theory, the settings will show you the correct setting for that. Also applies to documents in your OneDrive and photos. So I actually have an idea of photos, so you can contextually search for a photo or a document. Say you've got a document about a trip to a certain place and you forget the name of the place, you can somehow describe it, and using AI, it will work out going, oh, you meant Paris. Yep, cool. All right, here's your itinerary for Paris. So that's, yep, the Copilot plus PC part. Anywhere. Can be anywhere, as in on PC or OneDrive or SharePoint, etc. Yep, cool. Windows Auto Patch. Windows Update for Business is now part of Windows Auto Patch. I was a big fan of Windows Update for Business. It's still there, but when you read your documentation, it's sort of incorporated into Windows Auto Patch now. Has integration of Intune. I still believe it can be used separately, but just be aware if you're looking into that, you will see the name changes. What have we got next? Yeah, that's me saying that. And there's also a hot patch for Windows. So certain versions of Windows in certain scenarios can be hot patched, which just means you're doing Windows updates without a reboot. Doesn't apply to all scenarios and all devices, and some licensing required asterisk. So have a look into it. Yeah, well, you know, history repeats itself sometimes. Yeah, keep going. Let's see if we can work out what's happening in the slides. Yeah, what was that? What was that for? You put that one there. Oh no. All right. Well, but what were the screens there for? Oh, the little link. Right. I was sorry. If you click again, if you're clicking again, I was waiting for the. Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. So that's the what are we calling that? The W365 link, according to my notes. So it's a thin client. So, you know, what we had 15, 20 years ago connecting to your Citrix server, which it can still support Citrix, I believe. Good for, I think, people that are, you know, frontline workers, go to a space, just have to log in instead of having that shared PC that everyone uses a generic account that shouldn't ever be used. This means they can use their frontline license, in theory, to connect to their cloud PC and do the 10 minutes of PC work a day they need to do. So although I think it's got a bit of flack, I think it has a good use case where it makes sense.
I think 365 doesn't support any third parties and doesn't support AVD. It's like purely Windows 365.
W365, which is why it's called W365 link. But it's a fair call out.
Have new logos or yeah.
but the rename
Give it 6 months. Yeah, if they rename Windows 365, then they got to call this product another name as well. Yeah.
They can call it Windows 360, but because they figure it doesn't work 5 days
That's
a year.
exactly right.
Just remember where we are, guys. It's a leap year. They've got 1 day. It's okay. All right. So, Windows security. So there were some cool announcements around 3 problems that Microsoft are trying to address in the Windows security space. I don't remember anyone else getting heckled while they were talking. So yeah, overprivileged users and apps. So the answer. Is this still on? Yeah, great. Okay. What's that? Sorry.
No developers.
No developers.
Niche users.
They always want local admin and just leave them alone. But that's where the company only gets compromised. So this is actually not a terrible solution for some developers in some scenarios. Administrator protection. So what it does is a user should have normal user access, and if they need to do an elevated process or command or install something, they use administrator protection. And what it does is it gives them, they use Windows Hello for Business to authenticate, and it gives them a token to do their administrator task, and then the token expires and goes away. So it's sort of like, just-in-time temporary administration of the PC. So it's a good way of, well, it depends how many administrative tasks you have. Maybe you should be off the network and just isolated. So when you're training Windows Hello for Business, make sure you've got a disgruntled look when you're creating it, or it might not recognise you. All right, next one is cutting it out. Unverified apps and drivers. So these are two other cool things I thought. The first one's using AI, of course, to look over the world and automatically allow certain applications that seem to be well used, other people have checked them before, instead of having your own policies and having to create all that up. This is just point this setting at it, and you can just run anything that's already been predetermined as being safe to run. So I thought that was pretty cool as a low effort. Yeah. I think that name was taken though. Yeah, but this uses AI. Well, I don't think that does. So big differences. Thank you. All right, and the other part was Windows protected print. I know you started this. Everyone's tired and wants to go home, so let's keep going. Windows protected print. All right. This is another good one because, in theory, if a print manufacturer uses their driver that's compatible, or their printer device that's compatible with Windows protected print, you don't need to put a driver in your device. It's like a universal driver, but a new one. So in theory, you're not putting weird drivers from every printer company out there across your entire fleet that never gets patched and there's vulnerabilities. It's just a sort of more universal than vendor-specific driver. So again, I thought that was good. If printer manufacturers actually start to follow it, that's going to be the catch on that. And the next one was, insecure credentials and authentications. What are my notes on that? Oh, yeah, delegated managed service accounts. So you've got your normal managed service accounts, but these are delegated. And the reason they're delegated is for automatic credential management and rotation. So you should be changing your MSA account password every 30 days or whatever. The idea of this is it just rotates it for you, changes the updates that you don't have to worry about it. Because I'm sure any company out there using MSAs probably hasn't updated those in the last 30 days, wherever they're using it. It's a pain. So that is a nice drop for that one. It does require Windows 24H2 or Windows Server 2025, and you need to have an upgraded Server 2025 domain controller. So if you need a business justification to upgrade everything, there you go. No one's changing passwords for MSAs. Let's go to DMSA. It doesn't say that in the paragraph that I copied from the Book of News. So, asterisk. And the last bonus one was, personal data encryption, which is now generally available. So the concept behind that one is, normally you put a file on your computer, you assume everyone that's an admin has access to that in one way or another, right? But this actually lets you secure the file for just yourself. So unless someone has authenticated with your account using Windows Hello for Business, they can't access the file because it's encrypted. So it's quite good if you're dealing with confidential documents, but they're on the company network and you're like, well, company XYZ we deal with wants us to guarantee admins can't access this. This is a way around that. Correct. Or if you've got a different look on your face as per before. Yeah. Not my notes. Vault probably does the same thing because this needs to be enabled. So it's off by default and needs to be enabled in the tenant.
Does that mean Shaheen's TLS stuff won't be able to encrypt your secure stuff? I'm just curious. Traffic inspection.
Probably not. Yeah, and this is the thing. Like,
if zero trust all over again.
Well, yeah. See, I'd be concerned, not concerned, but curious as an administrator. If I have a user that's locked a file and they leave or they go on leave, they've quit, get hit by a bus, whatever.
Secured, Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. The 3D modeled photos of every staff member. I had one other little nugget, which was on the previous slide as well, just worth noting for anyone that does manage Windows 365 PCs. From now on, port 3389 is going to be disabled by default. So you can enable it, but don't fire it up and expect to RDP in because it ain't going to work. And that was it from Windows stuff.
That's it in terms of news and announcements. We've got a few links here so you can watch most of the recorded sessions from Ignite on demand. There are some exclusive ones that weren't recorded, but most of the stuff is on there. There is the Book of News, which is it's like a PDF, but you click through the content and you can jump to certain sections that we've covered. There are some items that we didn't cover today, and there was still various, I think it was 80 new items and announcements during the conference. So a lot of them is just out in the tech community blog. So keep an eye out for any new things from there. And I think we've got what's coming. So what events locally around Australia and New Zealand and so on. Rob might be able to talk to this one.
Speaking at Divinity on Thursday? It's the 5th. It's not the 4th, it's the 5th. Thursday. Is he going to be there? Okay. The Divinity was a conference that started in Auckland back in 2017, and this year it's kind of gone on tour. So they had the Auckland one on last week sometime on the 28th, and then they were going to have Melbourne tomorrow, but it got cancelled because they didn't have enough registrations. So the speakers who had already bought tickets to be there from elsewhere are putting on a free half day, and they've got like 100 people registered already. Anyway, and on Sydney there's the paid one. So if you can get to Sydney for Thursday, then come and hear me speak, as well as a whole bunch of others, like 20 odd speakers from around the world, including like Zoe Douglas from the Power BI product group and so on. Sorry? Yeah, Heidi's speaking there. Heidi's one of the people who's, I think, speaking at the Melbourne half day tomorrow as well. So is Kerry Kolosko, who's a local data MEP. Yeah.
All right. Any students in the room? It looks like a very mature group this time. There's at least one. There are Microsoft Student Accelerator programs, online meetups as well. So there's one coming. Yeah, no worries.
In my user group on the 18th.
Yeah, what he said.
All right, it'll take a while to leave.
Should have a rep by then. Yeah, so this is just around getting a head start in a career. If you're interested in either the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador or the MVP programs, they'll have content around what you should be studying towards in terms of getting the best out of your careers and the steps to getting into any of those programs. So that's an online one. There's a QR code, should work this time. I believe it's a form to fill in to register your interest, and they'll add you into the RSVPs. There is a Microsoft AI Partner Training Day. This may be full. This is next Tuesday, the 10th, at the Hyatt in Sydney. It's essentially a precursor to their AI Tour event, which is actually on the Wednesday. Yeah, so Justin will be doing the keynote at the AI Tour. So good one there, that one. Also a capacity event. So you can still register, but good luck getting in. Don't make any travel plans, please, until you've actually gotten in there. And there's also a in-person student accelerator in Melbourne on the same day in the afternoon at the LinkedIn office. Yeah, not the best timing, but you know, it's for students, so the students aren't necessarily getting their way to Sydney for the AI tour. And obviously, there's the Digital Workplace Conference in New Zealand, 18th, 19th March. Just doing the usual promotion of that. But yeah, good stuff. Various speakers from around the world will head over to New Zealand. Going to be in Auckland this time. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. It will be in Melbourne next year for us when it comes back to Australia. So we'll let you know. In terms of user groups, we've got next sessions or first sessions rather for the year around February. No, because January is usually really bad because everyone's still away after Christmas. So February, we'll try and get some in. Yeah, I didn't do the slide. Anyhow, but yes, but for next year, what's coming, these are the rough dates. All right, so that's pretty much it from us. We do have a hard out now, so Pete will come in and kick us out. Yeah, Pete's going to kick us out shortly, but if anyone wants to stay around and kick on and have a chat, we're welcome to go downstairs to one of the venues and we can kick on, have a share pint or two, and yeah. Anything else you want to say? I'm out. All out.
Communities for the